Did you just finish a marathon? Are you wondering what to do after your race to speed up recovery? Hopefully, you're catching this before your marathon because, as you will see, marathon recovery begins right after you cross the finish line. Welcome to episode 144 on the Healthy Runner podcast, where we help you get stronger, run faster, and enjoy lifelong injury free running. And I'm your host, Dr. Dwayne Scotty, and I have with me a very special guest today, someone I know very well, an integral member of our team, and is no stranger to the show. Coach Whitney from our Healthy Runner coaching team is here with me today, and we are going to share marathon recovery tips. Coach Whitney, how are we doing today? How are things going out in Arizona?
Hi guys, I am great. We had a very freak thunderstorm today. We don't normally get them in October, so it was a little interesting. Actually, we lost power, so I was a little nervous this interview might not happen, but we got power back, so we're good.
I am very excited that you got power back. And yeah, you got some weather like we usually get here on the East Coast, and certainly nothing what Florida had to deal with this past week with Hurricane Ian. But I'm glad that your power is restored. Definitely thinking about all the people down there who lost so much. But as we get into today's talk, I want you guys out there to think about those that are running a marathon. You've put in the training, you've done all the runs, you've done the strength training in order to run, right? You've taken your rest and recovery days, you followed a nutrition plan that we've talked about before on the podcast. But now you're wondering, what do you do after the race is over, right? So this is what we're going to be talking about in today's episode. And Coach Whitney and I are going to really cover marathon recovery tips to allow your body to properly heal and allow that time to heal so you can get back to being active and doing what you love, whether it is back on the road running or really getting back in the gym, hitting some weights. I know I am certainly looking forward to doing that again. So we're going to really talk about like what to do and what not to do after your marathon. So Coach Whitney, you know how we do this. Give all the new listeners in our community, in our audience, a little bit about yourself and let them know how many marathons you have personally run.
So like Dwayne said, my name is Whitney. I am one of the coaches on the Healthy Runner team. I actually am not local. I am in Southern Arizona in Tucson. So while you guys are enjoying your nice mild fall, it is still like 95 here, other than today. And I'll actually be enjoying winter running. Well, unfortunately, a lot of you guys will be in the cold. It's like our prime training season is the winter. So I am also a mom. I have 3 kids, 11, 9, and 6. And I've been running, I don't know, 8-ish years. I've done 0 in-person marathons, registered for my first in-person, but I have done 3 virtual marathons, which I don't think is probably as fun as in-person marathons, but I've still done the distance. My kids have made, the finish line for me to cross and the signs and all that stuff. My last virtual was the virtual Boston, actually about a year ago, last October. So I'm actually excited to run my first in-person marathon in February out here in Arizona. So,
well, I give you credit because, yeah, definitely running a marathon is hard enough. And to do it without the support on a course and the people like cheering you on throughout is pretty darn remarkable. So I know you are going to crush that marathon that you do have on your calendar when the time comes. So I'm going to be looking forward to that. We're going to have you definitely update us on that. And it's funny that you bring up the signs that the kids made. I still have my sign that my girls made 5 years ago. And I still have the picture of how small they were and how much they've grown since. It's just like crazy. But yeah, I have that sign literally in my garage. Like it's kind of off to the side. I've been looking at it for the last 5 years saying, will I ever run 26.2 again? And yeah, we are at the time of this recording right now. We're in race week. So I am in full blown race week. I actually just went to Stop and Shop before to stock up on my carbs as I start to, shift my percentages of the type of food that I eat so I can get those glycogen stores nice and full to give me the energy and give me the spark I need for Saturday. So I'm getting
Carbs give you a spark.
pretty. Indeed, they do. And actually, thank you for the reminder because those of you who follow us on our Spark Healthy Runner Instagram page and on Facebook, then you've probably seen that our Healthy Runner store is open. And I mentioned this in the last episode, and that the deadline was going to be tomorrow, which is October 5th. We've just decided that we are going to extend that by 5 days. So now you got 5 extra days until 10/10. So next Monday, you can get your Carbs Give Me Spark hoodie, or you can get your Strong Mind, Strong Body, Just Keep Running, either performance tank top or performance long sleeve tee that are in women's cuts as well as men's cuts. So you can grab all of that. I will put the link to check out the Healthy Runner store in the show notes below. So get in before we close up shop, because once it's closed until next spring, guys. So get your orders in now. I just love the gear. The design by Shauna at Stiletto Running is amazing, and it always is a great conversation starter, and then gives us an opportunity to educate other runners out there and educate those that carbs are the source of energy that is best for us as runners, and carbs are not bad, contrary to popular belief and culture out there, and the whole diet culture thing. All right, so enough of that. But actually, we were just talking about this offline prior. Yesterday, I'll share this on the podcast. I shared this on social last night as I saw this, and I was like, wow, this is pretty neat. So yesterday, I actually check, and I do this periodically because I get kind of email updates about like status of the podcast, how many downloads, where is it ranked in the top 10 or really the top 100 it gives me running podcasts in the USA. And we actually cracked, for the first time ever, the Healthy Runner podcast has cracked the top 10 in running podcasts. So I was very, very excited about that, to see, us up there, and really just kind of mixed emotions as, being a physical therapist who really said he could never be a runner because I always got shin splints or piriformis pain anytime I tried to run on a treadmill in college and in my 20s, to kind of, let alone like who would have thought my career would kind of go down this path to actually having a running podcast when I never thought I would be a runner. So it's been a passion project of just getting, good health information out there in the running community, and just, to educate, right? And so many medical practitioners out there just tell runners to stop running or they can't be a runner. And that is not the case. And it is just so nice to see our message spreading. And, so many of you who are listening to this have, supported us along the way. So, I not only thank you guys, the listeners, because without you, there would be no podcast, right? For keeping the show going. But, thank you to our, sponsors who have been like huge partners for us, Knox Gear, UCAN, the Amino Company, Naboso. They've been amazing partners. And, thank you to our team, right? So Coach Whitney does a lot of behind the scenes work for this podcast and really organizing all of our guests. So thank you, Coach. I appreciate all you do.
You're welcome. It's fun.
And, thanks to all of the guests that we've had, whether it is any of the other coaches on our team that you've heard from, multiple times before, or it is any guests that we've brought on to share their knowledge and wisdom. And that, the goal is that we can all, learn some knowledge, get smarter, get stronger, run faster, but also stay healthy at the same time. And running doesn't need to be painful. So I just love that the message is getting out there. And, if you guys have already dropped a rating and review in Apple iTunes, I thank you guys from the bottom of my heart, honestly. And if you haven't, consider it, hit a little star rating, drop, what you love best about the podcast. If you listen on Apple and if you listen on Spotify, just make sure, you're following the show on Spotify and you hit the stars. It's even easier on Spotify if you're listening there. You don't even have to type anything. You literally click a star, give us a rating. It just greatly helps the podcast get to more runners who are kind of searching up running things. All right. So thank you guys. I really appreciate all the help that you've given us in continuing to really do what we love and just, share information and share areas, that we either have a particular content expertise in, or we're just like a couple of steps ahead of you. Right. And, we're just sharing what we did, a couple of months ago, a couple of years ago, and you're going to be in that spot, that we're in now in a couple of months or a couple of years. So that's all we're doing here. And I appreciate the support. So let's get into today's topic of marathon recovery, right? This is very, very exciting. So we're going to break this down into kind of 3 different phases of recovery. We're going to literally talk about you cross that finish line. Hopefully you have a big smile on your face. You're giving a thumbs up. I'm sure I'm going to flex. I'm going to have my hands up. I don't even know what I'm going to be doing on Saturday. Who knows? There might be tears flowing down. But you hit the stop on your watch maybe. And then hey, what do we do after that? Right? We're going to talk about that. And then what we're going to do when we get home. And then the next couple of days after the race. So yeah, what's the most important thing that we need to consider with recovery? And then we can get into after we cross that finish line, coach, what should we be doing?
So most importantly, you need to listen to your body. Dwayne's recovery is going to be completely different than what I do for me. The timeline is going to be completely different, but you need to listen to your body and don't do what your friend's doing. You may have done your training every single run with Susie Q, but your recovery, your body, your muscles, all of that is going to be completely different. So listen to your body, talk to your coach, work together, and just celebrate. You finished this, you did it. Now let your body recover.
Okay. So Susie Q sounds fun to run with. Got it. We want to listen to our body, make it individualized. We're going to share many tips today, but the key there is to just, your body's best, especially if you've run other races before. Maybe you haven't run a marathon yet, and this is your first, but you kind of have an idea of how your body responds. And then you will be able to monitor and change, right, based upon what your plan was, right? So if you set out and it's hey, I'm going to do X, Y, Z, but you know what, you're really not feeling it, and your body's not, feeling like it's ready for X, Y, Z. And then you're going to go to A, B, C, and D, maybe with Susie Q. I don't know why we have so many letters in this podcast already, but we do. So let's get, things are wacky during taper time, huh? This is going to be an interesting episode.
Taper crazies. Yeah. But hopefully a lot of these things you've implemented throughout your training after those long runs. So you kind of know what might work, what hopefully will work. But yeah, listen to your body and adjust. Use the other letters.
All right. So what are some tips we have for right when we cross that finish line?
So most importantly, when you cross that finish line, don't stop. Don't sit down. Don't just stand there. Keep moving. Keep walking. Do a light jog, 10, 15 minutes, move around. A lot of races have a finish shoot. You get your medal. You kind of go through the corral. Some of them have the table set up with the chocolate milk and the bagels and the bananas, or you can go buy some shirts or whatever. Walk through that. Spend some time walking through that. Grab some chocolate milk. Grab all of the things. I was at a race, actually, the marathon I'm going to do in February. I was at that race last year, and my friend literally grabbed a crate from Costco, the boxes, and was just putting all of the things in it and just carried it around with her. She didn't eat anything to start with. She just had this giant box. And yes, Sheena, I am talking about you. giant box with all this chocolate milk, popsicles, and bagels, and all this stuff. So just keep moving. Don't stop, because your body is, that's like taking your car going 60 miles an hour, slamming on the brakes. You don't do that. That's not good for your muscles. It's not good for your heart. That's not good for anything. So keep moving. Keep moving.
All right. So yeah, you do not even know how much you want to sit, and just like you've been thinking about that finish line probably for like the last 6 miles at least. And you're like, I can't wait to get there. Like, do not collapse after the finish line and just like hang out on the ground. um, Try to keep moving, because it will help promote that active recovery, help promote blood flow, right, throughout your muscles, throughout your body, and just get things starting to work somewhat normal again, as your body has just been put through essentially a mild trauma, I'm going to call it, right, or shock. And your body is already somewhat in protective mode, because it thinks it's been, chased by a lion for the last like 26 miles, and is like, what are you doing? Why are you still running? So you need to really allow your body to not just, like you said, slam on the brakes, as you're going from like, 60 to 0 miles an hour. All right.
Right.
Makes sense. All right. So
And
what's your second tip?
hopefully you've been doing that after your long runs too. Like, I try to encourage my athletes to stop like a half mile from your house and walk the rest of the way. Like, have that be your end point. And I typically do that. I live at the bottom of a hill. It's a half mile to the main street from my house. So I usually try and stop at the corner and walk home. So that's kind of enough time for me to kind of get everything still moving, but slowed down. So yeah.
Yeah. And another good point too is, I know there are some runners out there who definitely, especially for you petite runners, and you're pretty small, your blood pressure might be kind of low. And especially if you have a history of like getting a little dizzy, like when you change positions quickly, right? If you like get up from lying down and you go right to standing and walking right away, um, you definitely want to be careful, because your blood has been pumping, throughout your body this whole time, and just stopping abruptly could cause some of that blood to just pool in your legs, and specifically in your feet and your ankles, and kind of decrease your blood pressure, and then you wind up getting dizzy and lightheaded, and we don't want you passing out after the race. Like, you got through the race, right? You've done that, so let's not pass out after the race. So very good point there. What is tip number 2?
Begin to refuel. Your body needs it. You're not going to be hungry. Like, I'll be honest with you. There are very few runners that finish a marathon and are like, give me all the food. That comes later in the day. That comes the following day, the next few days. But you do need to start refueling your body. That's how your muscles are going to start to repair themselves. So one of my favorites is chocolate milk. Although now I'm dairy free, so I can't enjoy that, unfortunately. But chocolate milk has a very good balance between carbs and protein, which your body needs to start rebuilding your muscles and, helping them to repair themselves. Being dairy free, I have found it's not great in carbs, but it's Orgain plant protein shake chocolate. They make it in these little milk cartons. You can buy them at Costco, throw them in the fridge, and it actually tastes pretty similar to chocolate milk. So I usually pair that with, now I don't know how you say it, if it's Bobo's or Bobo's, little oatmeal bites essentially, and they're pretty good carbohydrate. And that one is pumpkin spice, because it's October.
Pumpkin season.
So it is pumpkin season, pumpkin everything. My daughter has just discovered pumpkin spice lattes, and it's dangerous. But anyways, I digress. You need to start refueling. Like I said, you can go through that finish chute. A lot of times these races will provide bananas. They'll provide oranges. They'll provide bagels. Grab a bagel with some peanut butter. Maybe you're not ready to eat it right now, but eat it at least within 30 minutes of finishing. You want to start refueling your body.
All right. So being a New Yorker originally, like I do have to call you out on how you call the bagel. Like, what is this bagel? What is that? I don't even know. Is that like an Arizona thing? Is it a West Coast thing?
It's weird because I grew up in Connecticut, so you would think I could say it properly, but yeah, no. That's one thing, we don't have good bagels down here. So my mom is actually going to bring us some this weekend when she comes out from Stu Leonard's.
Oh,
So
yes.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Bagels are my go-to for my carbs. That is my treat. That is what I'm looking forward to having every morning this week for breakfast is a bagel. And I will call it a bagel.
Bagel. Yes, I'm still searching for a good replacement now that I am gluten-free and egg-free, because you can find gluten-free, but you can't find gluten-free and egg-free. That
So
doesn't taste
true.
like dirt. So
Yes.
working on that.
Yeah, that is so true. All right. So we are refueling, even though we don't want to or feel like we need to right after the race, but we're almost forcing some fuel in our bodies because we know it is going to help kickstart some recovery, help start to begin to get out of this carbohydrate deficit that we're in when we've burned off all of our glycogen stores and start to send some protein and some amino acids to our muscles that are really starving at this point from being broken down, and to start some of that synthesis and recovery of our muscles after. All right.
So
What?
you
Yeah.
mentioned amino acids, and I happen to have Heal right in front of me here from the amino company. This is a good time to have this right after your race. Maybe not as soon as you cross the finish line, but you know, a little bit after. It's fantastic. You can use that. You put it in your shaker cup, drink it down. It will help to repair all those muscles that you've kind of torn up a little bit during your race. So that's a good thing as well.
Absolutely. Yeah. Amino acids, big fan. I mentioned it on the show before, even leading up to the race and certainly after the race. You're definitely going to need to recover those muscles after the race. And that is one way to make sure that you have all of the essential amino acids that your muscles need in order to repair themselves and recover. So, yes, I'm glad that you mentioned that.
And that actually leads into tip number 3, rehydrate. So while you're rehydrating, you can have your amino acids, but you want to rehydrate. And that doesn't mean just water, honestly. You want to replace those electrolytes that you've sweat out during those 26.2 miles. That's a lot of sweat. Hopefully you're doing a nice fall race or spring race where it's not 90 degrees. But you're still going to be sweating. You're still going to be losing salt. You're still going to be losing all those electrolytes that come out with your sweat. So yes, water is important. And I would say drink your water, have like a Poland Spring bottle. You don't have to go crazy and have 40 ounces of water, but have a decent amount of water first. And then you can start replacing your electrolytes. There are a lot of companies out there that you can use to help you replace those electrolytes. UCAN has a fantastic hydration supplement. You just mix it in with your water. They have a lot of different flavors. They're pretty good. But you want to make sure that you're sipping whatever you're drinking. You do not want to be chugging it, because that is going to cause your stomach to freak out. And it actually causes a lot of stomach issues if you chug water after a hard run.
All right. So no chugging the water, but take your sips. And yeah, this is something that is always, I am still like fascinated by somewhat, I guess. I don't know if it's like the little boy in me, right? It's like after your race and you go ahead and you pee, right? Like, why in the heck is the color of your urine like so dark? Even though you've like rehydrated, you've hydrated during the race, you pre-hydrated before the race. It always like fascinates me that like that is the telltale sign of like how dehydrated your body actually is. So, they say to use the urine test, and, if it is a dark, like amber color, like that is a good indication to you to say, hey, I need to drink more water because my kidneys, my body is not functioning as it should. And I need more fluid. And it is always more than you think you need. or more than you're going to be thirsty for, right? You're not going to be craving to have that much, but that's always a good test for me. And I'm like, wow, okay, I still need to keep drinking. Like, keep drinking here, Dwayne. You are not fully, hydrated enough yet. All
Yeah,
right. So
not just that day. Like it takes a couple days. You need to like you said, you pre-hydrate. A couple days before, you're making sure you're having extra water, extra electrolytes, all that kind of stuff. Same with a couple days after. You need to keep drinking. Take that water bottle with you everywhere and just drink and drink and drink. Get your water, flush that system out again.
good tip. And then so the fourth tip, really, you kind of mentioned already, is the electrolytes, right? And
Yeah, I
just
kind of
making
merged those
sure,
two. Yeah.
yeah, and make sure that you are replenishing with the electrolytes, as well as water. But from what you mentioned, like, do the water first, and then take it in small doses as opposed to gulping, and then get in those electrolytes. Okay, so just kind of recapping there, like, immediately after your race, like at the race, ideally, we're moving around, we're beginning to take in some food, beginning to start refueling with some carbs and protein. This is where we want the protein, and that we wanted to kind of minimize and limit before the race. Now we actually need that protein to help our muscles begin to recover. And then we're rehydrating with not only water, but also electrolytes. All right.
Yes.
Got it. Yeah. So now, we finally get home. We finally take that shower. And hopefully, if you listen to like all our other tips, and like, you're not chafed, right? You like, that shower is a pleasant experience. You're not like screaming.
That's when you find the
Because
chafe.
that is when you're going to find the chafe, is in the shower. I think it's like, who has not been there before,
Oh,
right?
I can feel it. Oh.
Hopefully that's not you, right? You use your squirrel's nut butter or whatever, anti-chafe cream of choice that you've practiced with in all of your training. And yeah, so what are some of the things that we can do to help stimulate recovery after a marathon, the rest of the day of our race?
So actually, elevate is a great one. Elevate your legs. However, you're going to think this is really gross, but I like to come home and throw like a towel down on my yoga mat and put my feet up on the wall before I shower. 10, 15 minutes with my feet up on the wall. Usually that's when I'm like scrolling social media, seeing who else raced that weekend, that day, posting my pictures, whatever. 10, 15 minutes. Sometimes I'm drinking more chocolate milk or whatever it is while I'm doing that. And then I shower. And then I'm elevating. Anytime I'm really sitting, which I try not to do a lot the day of a race or a few days following, keeping my feet up, elevating. You can sit in a recliner and tip back, get those feet up, whatever you need to do, prop some pillows under your feet. It's a great time to put your feet on your spouse, have them massage your feet while you're doing that, or your kids, you can bribe them with cookies. But get your feet up. It'll help get the blood kind of out of your feet. Keep the blood from pooling down there. You don't want that.
Yeah, it's in a dependent position when we're sitting, and a lot of people like think if they sit and just prop their foot up on like a chair or an ottoman, that's elevating. You got to get it above heart rate, ideally. So even some of the recliners, depending upon, like, I have one recliner that like really takes you back. So I feel like it is above my heart rate, above my heart. You think I'm like thinking about heart rate training or something? Above my heart level. Versus like I have another recliner where like my upper body's still in like a sitting position, where that's not going to be as advantageous if you don't have a recliner. I usually like tell people, if you can literally like sit on the sofa and put both feet up on like the back of the sofa, and you can kind of get yourself comfortable in that position, that's definitely a helpful strategy. I love that elevation. Or sometimes I'll even just lay on my floor and put my legs up on my couch or sofa, and put in my little toe spacers, get a little stretch and separate those toes. I've been like, working hard during that race, and put in my Naboso splays, and just to get a little gentle like toe stretch while I'm in that position as well. And the other thing I would encourage you all to do is, definitely pump the ankles every now and again. So we use that, in post-op rehab, right? For anyone who's had a knee surgery, ACL, or, any ankle surgeries or ankle sprains, right? To decrease swelling in the ankles, we do ankle pumps. So like just pumping the feet up and down also helps the muscle pump out some of the fluid, so you don't tend to swell and get some like crazy kinkles or something after your marathon. So yeah, it's definitely a good point there, elevating the legs.
Yeah, I have a specific spot in our office. I put my yoga mat down and my feet go up on like the cabinet. Yeah.
Nice.
My kids know that's where they can find me the first like half hour after I get home from a race or a long run or a hard workout or something. So, and then I shower and then I'm like clean and smell better. But
yeah. So what's the second tip that we have for after, you're home, still the day of the race? What else can we do to help stimulate some of that recovery?
so after that, you want to make sure that you're not everybody. I hate ice baths, but you want to soak your feet. You want to get the muscles kind of in a nice, cool bath. You do not need to throw 500 pounds of ice cubes in your bathtub. You don't even have to get into the bathtub if you don't want. You can soak your feet. You can get a big old tub. You can get a Home Depot bucket if your feet are small enough to fit in it. Fill it with some lukewarm tap water, whatever comes out of your faucet. Ours is not lukewarm. It's pretty warm. So I do throw ice cubes in there just to kind of get it Arizona cold. But I throw some Epsom salts actually into the water as well, to help soak my feet and get that recovery going in my feet. It feels good.
Yeah.
And if you use the Home Depot bucket, it kind of goes almost up to your knee almost. So you get a good portion of your leg soaking in there.
Mm-hmm.
I do not like ice baths. I've done it once and I complained and yelled and said some bad words the whole time and said I would never do it again.
Yeah.
So.
Same here. I've tried it like twice and I was like, that was the most torturous thing. And then I was listening to another podcast like a couple months ago, and I feel like they shared some of the research on it. And I believe, I don't want to like say this is fact at all, but I believe I did hear that the research does not support a lot of benefit from doing the ice baths, and even versus like whirlpool and warm water. So the ice baths is super uncomfortable. So if you're into torturing yourself kind of thing, then go for it. But yeah, I honestly, what I do and what I've done like after all of my long runs is do the same thing as you Epsom salt bath. I have a little foot, I don't even know what you call it, spa thing, right?
Like the pedicure
Getting
tub?
like Bed Bath and Beyond or something. And I just fill that, put the Epsom salt in there. It's got a little like moves the water around, a little whirlpool action. And yeah, I'll do that for like 15, 20 minutes. Feet feel rejuvenated. They feel great after that. So yeah, big fan of the Epsom salt baths. And I love how my feet feel after it. And even, with the warm, the warm water, number one, it's good for the skin. And then it just makes, they just feel rejuvenated, right? And it feels like, okay, now they can start doing some type of mobility stuff, because now they're kind of loosened up a little bit.
Yeah. And I don't know if I listened to the same podcast as you a little while ago, but I heard the same thing that like, if you enjoy it, do it, but there really is no scientific benefit to the ice bath. So some people might enjoy it. I don't know who those people are, but yeah.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So
excellent. So what else do we want to do after we're done doing some foot soaking?
We want to keep moving. Just like when you cross that finish line, you don't want to sit down. I mean, yeah, if you want to go to the movie with your kids or something like that, go for it. You earned it. Relax a little bit, but don't sit on the couch all day. Maybe you ran, I don't know, we have a race here that's every Super Bowl Sunday, every year. It's an 8-mile trail run. Don't come home and sit and watch the Super Bowl all day. Like, don't do that. If you're going to sit and do that, elevate your feet. Maybe every 20 minutes, get up, walk around, go get some fuel. Maybe not chicken wings, but go up, get something to eat. Get up, move around, take your kids to the park. That's what I did after the virtual Boston. We went to the park and I chased them up and down the playground and the slide. There's like a 2-story slide. It's pretty cool. You know, do something like that. Go for a walk, go to the zoo, go to the grocery store, because that's, you know, half an hour of you walking around. You don't want to just sit. That is not going to be good for your muscles as much as you're going to want to just do that because you're tired because you ran 26.2 miles and that's a long way. Don't do it in small doses. You deserve to rest a little, but
keep moving around. So just keep moving, even if you are, you know, going to be sitting. I would recommend reclining, as we talked about before, versus like sitting with your knees at like a 90-degree angle, just because it will, you know, decrease kind of the blood flow and things moving around to help stimulate that recovery. And, you know, this is the time where it's like helpful for someone like myself, who's got a little like mild ADD going on where I can't sit still. You know, my wife hates it. It's like I'm constantly moving around. This is like a benefit, right? Where I won't, it's really hard for me to sit anywhere in like the same spot for an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours. It's like, I got to get up and, you know, roll my foot, or, you know, get on my foam roller, like mobilize my thoracic spine, right? Like I'm always doing something. So this is a good thing, is to kind of move around. And, you know, like you said, you've been on your feet all day, especially if you get there really early to your race and you're at the after party, so to speak, for a while. I remember last year at Hartford, Coach Latoya and I were literally closing things down. We were like taking pumpkins home and mums home because they were like closing everything, and the beer garden was closed off. So, you know, I anticipate Saturday is going to be literally standing on my feet from like 6 a.m. until 3 p.m. So, you know, I'm going to definitely need to get off of them, but I'm going to be, you know, thinking about your tip on, you know, when I am relaxing on the couch with my feet elevated, I will be periodically getting up, because I'm going to have to drink anyway, right? I'm going to have to replenish, you know, my water. So my electrolytes. So I got to get up, move around a little bit. And yeah, this is like real fun, weird fact, I guess. Not weird, but right before we hopped on, my wife just got like a notification from Netflix that like Blacklist was back. And I was like, perfect, there we go. We can watch that. That'll be the marathon recovery, you know, show of choice. We can do that as I elevate and actually have some time to kind of just like relax.
yeah. And if you're drinking enough, you're having to get up enough to go to the bathroom that you're not just sitting nonstop.
There we go. Yes.
I mean, that doesn't really count as much movement, but maybe you need to go refill your water bottle and get another snack. So
that is
some
true.
popcorn, watch Blacklist. I don't know.
Life doesn't sound bad after the marathon, you know, just like hang out the couch, like get up, replenish your fuel, get some more food, get some more hydration, you know, go to the bathroom, and then, hey, relax a little bit more. This is sounding good. I'm looking forward to my Saturday and Sunday this weekend. That's like never my Saturday and Sunday on a weekend. It's traveling to whatever volleyball tournament, or, you know, getting runs in and, you know, getting work done and kind of crazy stuff. All right. So any other tips we want to think about that day that we haven't covered?
I would say compression socks. You want to put on compression socks, and socks, not sleeves. Sleeves are great, but not after this distance. You really want something that's going to help the blood get from your toes all the way back up to your heart. And when you wear the compression sleeves, blood tends to pool down below the ankle, and you don't want that. So if you have a pair of compression socks, I recommend putting them on after you shower. And I don't even know when it was, but I posted a little tip on Facebook or on social media last year on how to get them on easier. So turn them inside out, start with the toes and like roll them up your leg on in like 2 seconds. You don't have to fight with them. But wear those as soon as you get out of the shower after your race. Wear them that day, wear them the next day. And you get some really fun ones.
Yeah.
Fashionable.
Big fan of the compression socks myself. I will be wearing sleeves for my race because my Belega socks are literally the best socks that I don't get any blisters with. So that works for me. And then I do the sleeves over the quarter socks. But you're right. When I get home, I will definitely be using my full length compression socks, and I will definitely be trying to put on, if I can bend and reach that far. I will be putting on my tightest fit ones on that day, and then most likely following that up with my Neboso Recovery full length socks. After that, that give me that little like massage on the bottom of my foot that I love. So yeah, those are awesome. Oh, you got them there.
The
Cool.
little bumpies. Yeah.
Yes.
If you guys are listening, you can't see this, but the inside of these socks have little, they're almost like pyramids that kind of massage your feet when you wear them. And they're fantastic. They feel really good. I wear them all the time.
Absolutely. Yeah, I love my Neboso recovery socks for recovery. And then even I love wearing them even before runs just to help stimulate my sensory system, to help activate my deep foot muscles. And actually, maybe I will mention that because I don't think I mentioned this on the podcast yet. But for those that listen to the podcast regularly and you maybe checked out our YouTube channel, just go to Spark Healthy Runner on YouTube. I posted the single best foot exercise that you can do as runners to help activate your deep foot muscles. So you will see that in the in one of the kind of playlist up front. Check that out. It's called the short foot exercise, or if you search that in YouTube and you go to our channel, you'll definitely find it. But very helpful exercise that I learned from Dr. Emily Splickle, who's been on the podcast before from Neboso. And I've kind of integrated that into my pre-run routine. And in a couple of weeks, I'm going to post my custom progression for runners, where we actually activate that short foot and use those deep foot muscles, and then do some other running specific muscle activation exercises. So I'm excited to release that in a couple of weeks. But yeah, get that video. It's a very informative, instructional video where I talk you through exactly how to do the exercise. And we got some nice graphics and things like that to kind of implement that into your pre-run routine, because I know that's been super helpful for me, and really honestly getting rid of my mild plantar fasciitis symptoms. So I'm super excited about that. All right,
so
we digress.
I had the same thing. I had like mild plantar fasciitis like last week, and I started doing those exercises, and poof, it was like magic.
Awesome. No, I'm happy to hear about that. I remember us messaging, and so cool. Nice. I'm glad they've helped you out. I know I've had a couple of people reach out like that have started doing them, and it's been super helpful. So I'm glad that people are benefiting from it. All right. Anything else? Day of
refuel. We talked about right after, but now you're home, you've showered, maybe your metabolism's kicked in and you're like, oh, I need to eat, I'm starving. Go ahead, eat. By all means, eat, but don't binge. And it's going to be really hard to do. Like you mentioned before, most races have beer gardens at the end. You get your little thing at the bottom of your bib to go and get your beer. Do that, but make sure you have some food in your system before you do, because that make you a little, as my mom says, pretty. But have some carbohydrates before you have your beer. Do not go out and eat like the big old greasy hamburger that you've been dying to have, that you didn't do this week because you didn't want to have all that extra protein or the grease or whatever. You can have that, but maybe have like half of it, because your stomach has just been through a marathon. And while we think that it's really our leg muscles that get work during the marathon, your stomach does too. Your stomach, all the adrenaline and everything, the fight or flight. There we go. Words. Response affects your digestive system as well. So throwing in all that greasy food, the cheeseburgers, the pizza, all that stuff sounds fantastic. And yes, you can enjoy it, but maybe not that afternoon. Maybe wait until the next day to have your like celebration extravaganza. Have something that you want, but maybe just smaller portions of it. Don't eat the entire gallon of ice cream. Maybe start with like half a pint.
Yeah, no, I think you bring up a good point, and I remember this distinctly from my first marathon, in that it literally took me days for my digestive system to like start working properly again. And I think it is all about, the blood flow during the marathon is being flushed to your musculoskeletal system, to your muscles. It is not going to your, what we call our smooth muscles that kind of work our organs, right? And your digestive system. So it really takes a while for the digestive system to actually start working again, and digesting food as it should. So I'm hoping that doesn't happen this time around as much, because I just remember that not being very pleasant, and I just didn't feel great. But I think your tip is well taken, because everyone has that. Honestly, like I'm kind of thinking that myself. Like, heck, after I finish the marathon, like, hey, we're going to Pepe's Pizza, right? I'm gonna be like refueling, and I'm gonna enjoy refueling, but don't go overboard, right? Like you said, your stomach might not be able to handle a lot of food. So just go on your cues and how you're feeling. And I think your point about like smaller portions and meals every few hours is going to be more beneficial for the body recovery standpoint, as well as honestly your GI system probably tolerating the fuel that you are putting in your body after the race, so you don't feel like terrible.
Yeah. And you can always take that pizza and have it later. Like pizza's great leftover. So enjoy it, but
Don't
small.
eat the whole pie is what you're saying.
Right. Don't have a whole like large pizza to yourself. Maybe have one or two slices and see how you feel. I always say that to my
Yes.
kids, give it a minute, see how you feel. If you're still hungry, have some more. Like
It's
don't
it,
overdo it because you'll
it's
regret it.
hard for like,
You'll regret it.
someone who's Italian, and like, I grew up in an Italian family. Like we all just ate as fast as possible. And yeah, that's something I struggle with. So I'm going to have to really try to slow down my eating, so I don't overeat and feel
Yeah.
terrible.
Yeah. My kids like race each other to eat, thinking there won't be enough leftovers. And I'm like, guys, like, I mean, I did the same thing. And I don't know if it's the Italian thing because I'm Italian. Like,
Yeah.
I'm an only child. I didn't have to race anybody for food, but my kids, like, they'll go to get leftovers instead of grabbing like one slice of something, they'll grab like six. I'm like, just start with one. Like, what are you doing? Yeah.
Yep. Yep. All right. So I think we covered everything kind of that day of the race, correct?
Yes.
All right. So now you hopefully get some nice rest and you sleep hard, hopefully, and you don't have to wake up to an alarm clock the next day, right? And you can just allow your body to get up when it's ready to get up. Hopefully, and those of you with young kids, I'm sorry if you can't have that happen to you, or like bribe your spouse to like, hey, make sure you got the kids, like take care of them. Like, let me get up when the heck I just freaking ran 26.2 miles, right? Let me just get up when my body is ready to get up, right? You turn on the TV, get them their little waffles, their milk, and all that stuff. I remember those days when my girls were younger and coming in at like 5 a.m. Like,
We
yeah,
have those
luckily.
clocks now that turn yellow, like they're blue all night and they turn yellow when they're allowed to come out of their rooms. Like
Ooh,
my youngest is 6. We still use those clocks in everybody's rooms because I'm like, no. Even when I'm not like training for anything, like you don't need to be down here at 5 o'clock in the morning. You don't.
right.
So yeah,
All
but
right. So
yeah.
we've hopefully gotten a good night's sleep. So what do we want to, think about in terms of recovery, really, 24 hours after our race? What do we want to do to really help this recovery process?
So 24, 48 hours ish, somewhere in that time window is when the delayed onset muscle soreness is going to start to kick in. So maybe race day, you felt great. Your legs were maybe a little tired, but they weren't really sore. That's probably going to be kicking in right around now, maybe the next day, somewhere in that range. So you want to foam roll. You want to take care of those muscles. You want to foam roll. You want to have your spouse massage your legs, massage your feet, kind of get those muscles softened isn't the right word, but like moved around. I'm not a big fan of getting a massage at the race massage tent right after a marathon or a race. but maybe the next day or 2 days after, races on Saturday, maybe schedule one for Monday at some point, Monday or Tuesday, get a massage, splurge on that. Foam roll, foam roll, foam roll, foam roll. Use your massage gun. Just kind of get those muscles working. And not working in the sense of running, but moving. Yeah.
Yeah. So just doing some of that soft tissue care, whether it's that massage gun, foam roller, lacrosse ball, honestly, might be a little aggressive. So, think gentle, right? You're not trying to do any like deep tissue trigger point stuff. Gentle, soft tissue care to really just increase maybe the pliability of the muscles and honestly stimulate more blood flow, right? Because it is that blood flow that is going to help this recovery process, and just gentle movement and will also really help you get through this delayed onset muscle soreness that Coach Whitney talked about. But yeah, that's when you can expect it, 24 to 48 hours, and probably after a marathon. Again, it's been 5 years for me, but probably up to 72 hours. For some can feel that. And I was actually just messaging with Rachel earlier today, who works with Coach Lou, and she just, I guess this is actually, you guys actually know Rachel. She was on the podcast in the 40s, because I did look this up after last time mentioning her name when we were with Coach Lou. But we shared Rachel's story on the podcast about like how she got a half marathon PR, and she's been working super hard, has increased her half marathon time, and has finally decided to tackle her first marathon, and she absolutely smashed it. Like not even like crushed it. She's been working with Coach Lou during this training cycle, and yeah, I'm just so proud of her. And we were messaging, I was asking her how her legs were, and today is Tuesday at time of this recording, so she's like 48 hours out, and she's like, yeah, they're not too bad. And considering like how fast she ran, yeah, that's like super impressive. But you guys can expect up to 2 to 3 days after, going downstairs is going to be pretty hard, because you use your quad muscles you never probably realized it because it wasn't hard for you to do and to go downstairs. But when your muscles are sore, you're like, oh, hello, quads. There you are. And I remember, always learning about in PT school, kind of what muscles function when you go up and downstairs. And it's like downstairs is what we call eccentric. So it's when the muscles lengthening and there's more demand. And then you're going downstairs and you don't ever think about your quads working eccentrically. But when they are super sore from running a marathon, you're like, oh, that's what they meant when my quads are actually working when I'm going downstairs. So yeah, I'm somewhat looking forward to that. Maybe, I guess, that feeling, which would have meant that I ran a nice hard race.
Yeah, foam roll those legs.
There we go. Foam roll.
It will hurt. I'm not gonna lie. Those first few days, it's gonna hurt, but like in a good way, because like you said, you ran a hard race. But the more you do it, the less it hurts, the more recovered you're going to feel. I have clients that ask me, well, how often should I foam roll? And I tell them all the time, like, if you think about it, do it. If you get out of the shower, you foam roll. If you put on one sock, you foam roll. Like, just do it. Anytime you walk past it or you think about a foam roller, do it. Like, even if it's you just have time to roll your calves, just roll your calves. Then the next time you do your hamstrings, whatever time you have to commit or give to foam rolling, it's going to benefit you. Like, it really will.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And if you guys aren't sure how to foam roll like certain muscles, we have a great instructional video on our YouTube channel as well. If there's actually a foam roll playlist, I believe still, I am going to restructure some of those playlists, but there should still be a foam roll playlist. Or if you just like type in foam rolling for runners, in the Spark Healthy Runner YouTube channel. It will definitely come up. It's got a bunch of views on that one. And then I actually, for those who follow on social, I just recorded an IG reel that's in draft mode right now that I'll be posting in the next couple of days of how to actually do your massage gun to each of the running specific muscles and how I like to do that. When you do this, you want to do it in the shortened position of the muscle, not in the stretch position, especially even for recovery, because you want that muscle to be like on slack as you are adding that massage in there. So I kind of go through of how to do that for the hamstrings, the calf muscles, the TFL, IT band. And even the adductors, because I know those guys are going to be sore after my race. My adductors are never sore, but those inner thigh muscles, for some reason, always after a race, I feel those adductors. That's like the only time I ever really feel, besides my Copenhagen planks, when I'm working them in strength training. Besides that, usually never feel those adductors. But yeah, after a race, here they are. All right. So besides foam rolling, soft tissue care, what else do we want to do those next couple of days?
You want to keep moving. And I feel like that's a theme we have for recovery. Keep moving. Go for walks, even a light run. I would say not those first few days, but like I did. So this is going to totally depend on one, how experienced of a runner you are, how hard you ran, if you did a full marathon or if you did a half or 5K or whatever that is. But talk to your coach about how many days off you should take directly following your race. Some runners, I've worked with Emily 3 training cycles now. I believe she just finished Copenhagen Marathon. And I only had her take 3 days off of running. I told her she could walk, she could do that kind of thing. And then she went for a 2-mile run. An easy, like easier than easy run. Because I knew that this wasn't the end of her running season for the year, that she put in for the London Marathon. I hope that's not a secret. Sorry, Emily, if it was, for the lottery. So there's a possibility that she's going to run that marathon in April. And if that's the case, she still needs to be working on her base phase. So for her to take off a week, 2 weeks, whatever, is not going to be beneficial for her. So a couple days, some light running, some walks, that kind of stuff. And like the week following her race, I think she only did 2 runs, and it was like a 2-miler, maybe 2 2-milers, or 2 and a 3. Nothing huge, nothing crazy, super, super easy. And then we gradually kind of increase. But you don't want to race on Saturday and then go for a run on Sunday. That's going to hurt. That's going to really hurt. Go for a walk. Go lounge in the pool and like float around while your kids play. Get those muscles moving, but not in an intense, vigorous workout. Go for a bike ride with your kids or your spouse. Go do an easy hike, not anything intense, but go out into the woods and walk around. Do something to get the blood flowing. And we don't want you to sit down and just be a blob all weekend. As much fun as that sounds, it won't be beneficial to your legs. So get up and walk, swim, easy bike, something to kind of keep the legs going.
Yeah. So changing positions, right? And just kind of varying that position. But yeah, as far as that, when do you start running again question, I do, agree that is very individualized. And will really depend upon, I think, how you feel physically, but then honestly, also, how do you feel mentally? And there are some of you out there that probably grinded through your marathon training cycle. Maybe you didn't have the best training, maybe not the best consistency. Maybe you had an injury that you were kind of battling through. And if that's you, where you're really beaten up after the training cycle, then you're definitely going to want to take some more recovery, meaning no running after the marathon. If, as as I speak right now, before my marathon, I guess 4 days before my marathon, I actually feel like better during this marathon training cycle than I did for my last two half marathon training cycles, believe it or not. And don't feel injured whatsoever, don't feel burnt out, don't feel like mentally drained and that, I need a break from running. I would imagine. Obviously, I'm going to see how I feel after the race, but I think, I'm going to be a little on the quicker side to kind of get back into doing things. I'll see how I feel, but it's going to really be an individual decision based upon your physical status as well as your mental status. And for many of you, if like running was like a chore and you really weren't enjoying the process and the training, like take a mental break, right? Like find another form of exercise like that you're going to be motivated about and actually enjoy doing, versus going right back at running. If you were getting to the point where you were like, this running thing is kind of like a drain, right? Like this is not fun. Because you should love it, right? You should have fun with it. You want it to be that outlet, for your life and kind of stress relief and all of that. So I always bring in that mental side as well, because we've had, some runners kind of just get burnt out, quite frankly. And if that's you, you definitely need a longer break from running. Um, from a mental side, as well as, considering what your physical status is. I've mentioned this before on the podcast. If you are of the belief that you train for a marathon, you grind your body into the ground, and you wind up having like two running related injuries right before your race, and you just, cross your fingers that you're going to finish and be able to get the best race. And then you think, okay, now I'm going to rehab for the next 2 or 3 months. Um, that's not going to be the best long-term strategy as you look to build back up for your next marathon. So if you are thinking that is your recovery strategy, I want you to consider, maybe doing it, a little smarter and really building up that foundation and base training in your off season so you don't get injured and you train properly, like everything we talk about on this show. And you can actually enjoy the process, and that's really how our fitness improves. Like all of us, let's be honest, we all want to get faster, right? For the most part. Whether it is 10 seconds faster, 20 seconds, like we all don't want to qualify for Boston, right? But we would like to get faster. And that's what a lot of runners tell me, whether it is you want to run a 12-minute mile, some of you might run a 10-minute mile, some want to run an 8-minute mile, right? And when you run that, depending on what race distance, right? It all depends. But for the most part, we want to see like, hey, that we're getting better as runners. And, in order to do that and stay healthy, then we need to do that the right way. So recovery shouldn't be rehab for like 2 or 3 months and you go see your PT 3 times a week for like the next 2 or 3 months. And then your injury is healed, so to speak, right? There are ways that we can heal our injuries while we are still running, as we've talked about in many of the injury episodes that we have on this show. All right. I'm going to get on a big soapbox and this will turn into a 5-hour episode. So we should probably get to the next tip. What's the next tip, Coach?
The next tip is don't race. Like you just finished a big race. So you can start thinking about your next race, but let's hold off like 4 to 6 weeks. Do some easy running, do some walking, do some different physical activity. Maybe it's getting back into the gym. But let's not sign up to try and PR or 5K next week. Like that's just a bad idea. Let's not do that. That's asking for an injury, an overuse injury. We don't want to see you do that. That's just not good. So listen to your body mentally, physically, and just be okay with the fact that you need some time before you can race again.
Yeah. A marathon is not a 5K, right? Like many of you guys can race 5Ks weekend after weekend. I don't race a 5K weekend after weekend, but I know many people who do, and they recover just fine. If you're younger, you will recover quicker. But a marathon is a whole nother game and a whole nother stress to your body. As we talked about, like, organs are literally not functioning to their optimal level, whether it's your kidneys with filtering out, and, staying hydrated, or it's your circulatory system, or it's your digestive system, right? So it's not only the stresses you put on your muscles and kind of testing your cardiovascular fitness, like your body has been through as I mentioned before, like a mini trauma. You need to allow time before you put it through another mini trauma again, no matter what race distance. So I completely agree.
Yeah, body needs time, and your mind does too. Like you can't just be training and training and training and training and training. Like mentally, you need a break. So give yourself that break. Enjoy the time to just enjoy running without having super structured workouts and super structured long runs. If you want to go for a 4-mile long run instead of a 6-mile long run, do it. Like, enjoy it. This is the time to enjoy all of it again.
Yeah. And if you guys think about like what you've been doing during your whole marathon training cycle, whether it was 16 weeks, 20 weeks, 24 weeks, right? You've been gradually, essentially, if you visualize those that are listening to the audio version, like an incremental slope or in a slow rise of like an elevation, like if you were running up a slow elevation. And then you hit this peak, right, in your fitness and in your training, and we taper down a little bit before the race so we feel fresh, and we're at our peak fitness for the race. Like that's the event, right? That's like our Olympics, right? Like that is the thing that we've been training for so long. And it's not just the last 4, 5, 6 months, it's the last year, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, right? That you've been building this body of work for this time. And when you put out that hard effort that you're going to put out for your marathon, then you need a sudden decrease in activity in order to allow recovery of your body. So if you jump back in too quickly and start pushing it too early, that's when injuries occur. And I've seen so many runners that literally was like, hey, I didn't have any runner's knee, when I was peaking in my training, doing my 20 miler or IT band pain in my 20 miler, or even the race, I felt great. Like I get so many people who say like, hey, I felt fine during the race. And then when I started running, a week later, I started having some knee pain. And that's such a common thing that I see. So I just want you guys to make sure that you're listening to your bodies and you're not putting pressure on yourself to get back into running the same paces that you were during training or the same mileage or trying to do that, 5K, 10K, half marathon, like right away, the next couple of weeks after. Allow that time for recovery.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And my last tip would be the post-race blues are a real thing and it's completely normal. You are not odd. It's nothing to be worried about, but you have this buildup of 16 weeks, 18, 20, whatever, however long your training cycle was. This has been what you focused on. You wake up thinking about running. You go to bed thinking about running. If you're not thinking about running, it's because you are running. Like your life has pretty much just revolved around training for this race. And while that sounds kind of silly, it's the reality. Like you're planning your meals so that you're fueled properly for your race. You're planning your Friday evenings so that your Saturday morning long runs are optimal, that you're not staying up super late. And like all the things are revolving around your training. All of a sudden, you don't have that anymore because you just totally crushed your race and did a great job and it's over. So you don't really know what to do with all this extra free time that you have. And that's totally normal. All runners go through that. So what can you do? You can spend some more time with your spouse, with your significant other, with your kids, with some family that you haven't really seen in a long time. Even if it is your in-laws that you don't really want to hang out with, but you kind of feel like you should because your family hasn't gone over there in a while. You spend some more time like rolling around on the floor with the dog because you didn't want to do that before, worried that he would accidentally like headbutt you in the knee funny or something. I don't know. Start thinking about what's next for your training? Thinking about it, not doing it, but do you want to do a fall race next year? And yeah, that's a year from now. So maybe you're thinking about, okay, I'm going to put in for the lottery for New York in January, and I'll find out in February. And then I have this time to do my base training, and then I can run New York in October, November, whenever it is next year. Start thinking about it. Maybe you want to PR that 5K in the spring before it starts getting too hot. Start thinking, planning that kind of stuff out. Enjoy the extra time. Sit down and read a book, like an actual book, not an audio book that you listen to while you're out running, because that's what I do. It's either that or podcasts. Unless I'm really pushing hard, then I need that like 90s grunge music. But sit down with that book. Maybe you sit down and you have a glass of wine while you're reading your book because you haven't been drinking alcohol at all during your training cycle. I'm not saying go out and drink the whole bottle, have like a glass of wine, but spend some time doing the things that you enjoy that you've kind of pushed aside for these past handful of months while you've been training. So it is normal. Don't think you're odd because now all of a sudden you don't really know what to do with yourself. Do something fun. Pick up a new hobby. Maybe you wanted to teach yourself, I don't know, how to do Sudoku or however you say it, that number thing that I can never figure out. Maybe you want to learn how to cross stitch or rollerblade. I don't know. Learn how to bake vegan, gluten-free cookies and send them to Coach Whitney because she's always looking for good stuff.
There you go. Learn how to like edit videos, and maybe you can help me out with the 60 plus exercise videos I have in my folder that need to be edited.
Yeah, find something, to fill that time because you're going to have, I mean, other than your long runs, you have probably a couple hours each day that you've either been doing strength training, running, foam rolling, doing some mobility workouts. You have all this extra time now throughout your week. So find something that you've been dying to do or wanting to do, but you can still run. I'm not saying don't run, just you have a little extra free time.
Yeah. And one thing that you kind of spoke about, but I just want to reiterate is, reflect on the process, right? And make sure you reflect on your training, reflect on your race, and really, celebrate the wins. And don't get caught up in if you didn't meet your goal, right? Or you didn't get the time that you wanted, right? Like there were many wins that you had during this training cycle, whether it was you actually, starting strength training or being consistent with strength training for the first time ever, or being consistent with a plan for the first time ever, or, showing up for yourself, doing hard things, right? Like there's so many things you can list. And, make sure you take some time to really reflect on your race. I know I am going to do that. And I will share it with all of you in 2 weeks after my race, not the week after, because I don't think that's enough time to reflect on everything. But I will definitely be doing that. And, think about, what are the things that you really never have time for that you would like to do? Like do those things. And hopefully that will help prevent some of those like post-race blues. But yeah, as you mentioned, it is common. It is normal to feel that way. So don't feel like you're weird if you do feel that. But, try to think about how can you redirect some of that energy and focus in a positive way. So yeah. As we
Sorry, I like to journal. I'm not a big journal person, but after a race, whether it doesn't matter the distance, I like to reflect and kind of take notes. Like, okay, I need to be better about my strength training, or I need to be better about my mobility stretching, or this worked really well. I need to make sure next time my pre-long run meal worked really well for all my runs and for my race. So I want to make sure I do this, and this. Kind of take some notes so that next training cycle, whether that's in a year or 5 years, you can go back and say, okay, this worked. Let's at least start with this. Or this really didn't work. Don't try this kind of thing. Because you're going to forget, like, especially if it's a handful of years down the road before your next marathon, you want to have some notes to kind of look back over.
Yeah, no, I've been a big fan of journaling. And I mentioned this in our self-care tips for runners episode with Amy Mongetta. That was one of her recommendations. And hey, I've actually implemented that and I've stuck with it every single night. That's how I end my day. And every single morning, that's how I start my day. So it's been pretty neat. Honestly, I'm kind of really liking it. And yeah, I think that will be super helpful for you guys to reflect on it and just so you remember and you learn, right? And we're always growing, we're always learning, and we're always building upon each race. So as we kind of wrap up here, Coach Whitney, if you can change one thing about the misconception of marathon recovery, what would that be?
That you need to fit into a box. Like everybody recovery is going to be different. Your recovery is going to be unique to you. You need to listen to your body and you need to do what works for you because your recovery is not going to be the same as my recovery. While we can give you all these suggestions and you can talk to a coach, you can work with a coach, you can talk to another runner that you met at the race, your recovery is going to be unique to you. So make sure that you do what works for you, but you're not finishing that race and doing nothing. Like you need to actually be active and take the steps to help your recovery. Because if you just cross that finish line and that's it, you don't foam roll, you don't refuel, you don't have some water, like you're going to have a miserable experience. So you need to at least take some steps to do some of the things that we've recommended. But like I said, your recovery is going to be totally different than Dwayne's recovery or my recovery. So listen to your body and do what works for you.
Great advice. And just recapping here, what we really covered in today's episode was everything to do after your marathon. So we have many episodes that we've done in this whole series of what to do before your marathon, how to train for your marathon, nutrition for marathon running, mindset for marathon running. Here is what you're going to do after your race, which really starts after you cross that finish line. So ideally, you've listened to this before your race, so you know what to do on the day of the race, and you really talked about that at the race. And then that same day when we get home, what should we be doing to help stimulate this recovery process so we do start feeling more like ourselves a little bit sooner? And then what we should be doing the days after and really the weeks after. So yeah, this was super helpful. Thank you so much, Coach, for sharing these tips. And if you are kind of struggling with figuring out, the training side of things or the recovery side of things, with marathon training, half marathon training, and, some of the things that we talked about today, if you're like, hey, I really struggle with always having that knee pain, or I always struggle with not knowing how much mileage to do, when to rest. Should I had to skip a run. Should I just like double up? How do I make up that mileage, right? How do you adjust your plan as you go? Our Healthy Runner team of coaches would be honored to guide and support you in meeting your marathon goal or whatever running goal that you have in our one-on-one signature coaching program. You have a team behind you, right? Each step of the way, whether it is, myself as a physical therapist or registered dietitian, Brooke, or any of our amazing run coaches like Coach Whitney here. We will kind of keep you accountable. We will provide you the structured run and strength plans, as well as the support to really enjoy this process so you can become a lifelong injury-free runner. And I get a lot of people who reach out, after their marathon is done. They've listened to previous episodes and they realize that they just didn't do the right strategies. I get that all the time. People sending me DMs and being like, hey, I just listened to episode 141 and I realized I did everything wrong, and that is why I didn't get my goal, or that is why I'm injured. And now you're looking to kind of do it the right way. This is the best time to actually do it the right way, not waiting 4, 6, 8 months before you have a specific race, because as I mentioned earlier, it is this base training phase that you really need to get the clarity on what you need to focus on and strengthen the areas that you need to focus on. So next time a month, 2 months before your marathon race, you don't get injured, or you actually run faster, or you hit your workouts without feeling fatigued. So this is the time of the year, if you just finished a marathon, that you really want to kind of get these strategies down that are going to help you really going forward in your training and in your running journey. So if you want to see if you're a good fit for a Healthy Runner coaching program, there is a link in the show notes that you can just schedule your call, hop on a strategy call with me, and we'll talk about your situation. And if it's a good fit, we'll talk about what it'll look like to work together. And if it's not a good fit, I'm going to give you my best recommendation, point you in the right direction. So you can simply schedule that call by just going to my calendar at learn.sparkhealthyRunner.com/coaching. Yeah, Coach Whitney, this is fun. This is always, we always go long, of course, because it's just so easy to talk to you. But thanks for coming on. I really, really appreciate it.
Of course. I can't wait
Yeah,
to hear how your race goes. I'm excited for you. It's gonna be great.
I can't wait either. Yeah, this is the last episode before the big race. We've been talking about this for months now. So you guys have been with me during this journey. And honestly, I'll be thinking about you guys as I'm out there. When the going gets tough, I'll be thinking about the community behind me, supporting me, getting through this race. And I just love you guys. I love the support. Again, I love what we've been able to do and continue to, produce this podcast on a consistent weekly basis, 144 weeks straight, providing that value for you. So we're consistently showing up, just like you should be consistently showing up for your runs and your strength training. So thank you guys for listening. As always, if you like this training, then you will surely like the next. So if you're listening on the podcast, just queue up episode 118 to learn all about what to do before and on race day with Coach Whitney, as we walk you through our Spark Race Day blueprint. Or if you're watching this on YouTube, just click the next recommended video for you. Let's maintain a strong mind, a strong body, and let's just keep on running. Until next time.
Bye, guys.